Welcome. This is the DNX Show. We're thrilled to be here. We do this every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We go for 90 minutes. We talk about domain name investing. There's two hosts to this show. My name's Todd Ryan. My co-host normally is a partner, Josh Reason. Oh, just a young, strapping UK lad, I guess is what they'd call him over there. We really don't care in the U.S. We act like we care about him. We don't care, really. But anyway, he's on holiday. Why? Well, they don't take vacations. Like I just said, from Europe, okay? And the rest of the world, they take holiday. When a holiday for us is important stuff like Halloween. Okay, so I have a co-host. He's down in Bombay. You guys can call it what you want. Samit is my co-host. I'm proud to have him here. I have a lot of questions for him today. Samit, how's everything going where you're at? I know it's late at night, 10:30, but what's up?
Yeah, it's around 10:30 at night. It's lovely, and Bombay's got the best weather right now. It's monsoon season. It's been pouring its heart out. We've had over 1,000 of rain over the last 4 days. Most other parts of the world would be like disaster areas in 1,000 but in Bombay, it's business as usual. Kids are going to college. People are going to work. Uh, Everything seems to be running normal. There are a few spots which have a little bit of flooding, but today it didn't rain that much, so hopefully they'll have drained out. But it's great weather. Best time to visit Bombay, in my opinion.
I'm glad you said that. I wanted to ask you about visiting. Can I stay with you for like 6 weeks? Okay, no, I'm not. I don't have any plans to come there. But if I was there, um, I don't drink. Okay, so I'm assuming you're like me. We're too smart to get too fudged up. But anyway, when we go out, what's my non-alcoholic drink of choice there? I mean, I love stuff like lemonade. Homemade lemonade. But what what would I be drinking there? What's a Indian drink that's
Yeah, so if
non-alcoholic?
you're in one of the clubs, like we have a lot of clubs in Bombay where the hoity-toity hang around, and there the drink of choice for all the sportsmen or the non-drinkers is fresh lime soda. So you have fresh lime, a little bit of sugar syrup, salt, and soda, club soda. That's pretty much the go-to drink. But in India, there you've got hundreds of things you can drink. You can have, I don't know how good you are with curds, whatever you want to call them. We call it dahi here, but you have lassi, you have sugarcane juice, you have soft drinks, of course. You get all the regular stuff which you get in America, Coke Zero and Diet Coke and regular Coke. And we have a special cola here called Thumbs Up, which is the favorite in Mumbai or Bombay. And that's extra fizz, basically. And then we have Jaljeera, which is again water or soda with special spices. There's a lot you can drink, man. And even if you don't drink, there are a lot of mocktails you can have.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there's no
well,
limit to what you can drink or eat in India.
well we're going to be talking about domain investing for all these people listening, so don't sweat it. But I wanted to ask, for a drunkard or a lush, somebody like Bruce, what would he be drinking when he's down there? What's a big alcoholic drink?
Well, India is basically a whiskey drinker, but we pretty much have the whole gamut. You name it, we have it. And what we don't have, we import. There's a joke about it that there's more scotch sold in India than it's manufactured in Scotland. It's possibly true. So people drink. We have local whiskeys. We have great whiskeys. I'm mostly a tequila drinker for the last 8, 10 years now. We have local tequilas, though they're not called tequilas. They're called agave liqueur or agave whatever, and they're pretty good. Like I prefer some of our Indian tequilas to even Patron and Jose Cuervo and all that, which you get in the US. Though, of course, Paul will tell you that all that is all garbage, and he knows the right tequilas to drink because he drinks some specific distilleries, smaller places in the US. But there's some good ones. I mean, local, we have Maya Pistola. You can go check it out on pistola.in. They have 4 or 5 different flavors or whatever you want to call them, reposados and stuff like that. It's pretty good. I mean, there's no lack of liquor in India. I think we're the largest consumers of whiskey and beer in the world, which is saying a lot.
Oh God, I can't imagine the smell over there with all that drinking and sweating. Hey, Paul. So you were on this airplane, and I see you, telling the bartender, "Take your time." Okay, tell me a couple things, Paul. What were you drinking on the airplane, and do you get messed up sometimes? And then over in the UK, I know you were like, "Well, I'll try it. Since I'm here, I'll try this," and you just say that so you can get all boozed up. But so, what were you drinking on the airplane, and what did you drink when you were over there in the UK?
Well, what's going on, Todd? What's up, Summit? Yeah, I mean, when it comes to tequila, I mean, you're right next to Mexico, so it doesn't really get better than California. You're able to access some of the best tequilas from here. Shit, you're not gonna find. Yeah, I was in London. You get all the regular stuff, the Patron, the Queer, all that's garbage to me. It's all, additives filled with additives. No, seriously, it is. You want to go organic. The top of the line Fortaleza is probably my go-to as soon as I can. If I can find that at a bar right away. Siete Leguas, Ocho is good. These are all organic. That's what you want to go for, and distill the old-fashioned way, where you still have the mill going. You can go to the factories, the Fortaleza factory in Mexico. You can go. I think it's like $60 to get a tour, and you can see how they do it. Still the old-fashioned way. They don't add any shit in there, but yeah, so I mean, I'm big on tequila. So in London, everything was opposite. First of all, driving, I was driving all over the place, sometimes wrong directions and stuff. But it just took a day or two to kind of get the hang of it. But once everything's backwards, you're walking, you walk on the opposite side of the road and stuff. So, but it takes a couple of days, and yeah, it was interesting over there. And what else, man? Football's wild there compared to here. That game that was on at like 1 in the morning went on till 2. The mayor declared that all bars need to stay open. That's how crazy they are about their teams, right? So like 2 in the morning, imagine people getting to work the next day, probably next to impossible. Yeah, one of the things I was going to say is the reason Summit doesn't want to become a moderator is probably because he doesn't want the liability from Nixie. Nixie's on our ass with these dot. Nixie's on our ass with these .in, these new rules that they're like trying to implement. It's not as bad as Australia, where they're just next level. And I'm really grateful that when .in launched, they had certain rules in place where I'm hoping they grandfather, where it's like, okay, it's like I think it's 3.2 or something in our rule, in our guidelines, where it's like unlimited domain registrations from anywhere in the world. There's no restrictions on registering domains, and unlimited. That's what I'm hoping that they don't come up with this next rule now, where it's like, okay, only X amount of domains will be allowed per thing. That would be really scary. But you never know with these guys. Like with all these rule changes they're coming out with. So I'm kind of all over with my topics here, and I know you have a strict guideline to follow, Todd. I've checked out the entire schedule, so that was just my little rant, and
Yeah,
yeah,
there's no
sure.
strict guideline, Paul. I mean, we got that's the sort of the guide we go by. But I wanted to ask you before you. So yeah, I knew it was a rain delay that England Mexico game, and then so they had to keep the bars open even later. And I didn't want to let Josh know I'm here in L.A. Man, a lot of my friends, they're from Mexico anyway, and I was like, hated to say, I was like really wanting Mexico, but then I didn't mind England winning because I look forward to some serious. Basically, they take it so serious that it's going to be good. Their next match now today is Morocco and France. I wanted to ask Summit about because I saw Anita showed up too, and I wanted to ask. I was going to ask before Anita showed up, and now I'm going to ask: is her hair dyed or does she color it? Anyway, no, that wasn't what I was going to ask. I was going to ask: do you see anybody when you're, other than that ICANN meeting Summit? I saw pictures of you, and I bet you're acting like a big timer, like you're in my turf now. But do you see any domainers, anybody that we know ever outside of that ICANN meeting? Because I know there's plenty of domainers that live in Mumbai or the surrounding areas, but is there ever a domainer
Yeah, I
meetup
mean,
there or anything?
No, we don't have domain. I mean, they have domainer meetups. I don't go for any. But during ICANN, I met Tony Names. I met Nikhil Jain. I met Zach Muskovich. In fact, one of the photographs you must have seen of ICANN is with Zach sitting in the center holding court, and all of us were bombing him with questions. And he also brought up a lot of the stuff that the GAC said about, because I wasn't in the GAC meeting, so he was telling us what the GAC said about .in. And honestly, I don't care. For me, .in was never really a domainer play. It was always a development play. I mean, just think about it. 1.5 billion people or 1.4 billion, whatever you want to say. A billion broadband connections. 1 billion broadband connections as of today. 440 million middle class users. People with disposable incomes who can afford to spend 5,000 bucks on whatever they choose to, right? There is a website which launched in April, and in June they sold 600 air conditioners a day. Of course, it must have taken a lot of advertising and a lot of marketing, but the very fact that they were able to reach that number in a couple of months is mind boggling. And if you see some of the larger telecom companies in India, they're making $3-4 billion in profit each. There are three companies, or maybe two now, but they're making like $3-4 billion in profit. And at the same time, broadband is cheapest in India. I pay about $12 a month for 100 Mbps, unlimited bandwidth, unlimited downloads, unlimited everything. And they're cheaper packs. I'm on the expensive pack, right? You can get stuff for like $2 a month with 10 Mbps and 500 GB download or whatever, something like that, 200 GB download. So bandwidth or internet is today not a problem. And you must consider that when I started web publishing in 1998, we literally had to fax stuff over to Dubai, and they used to upload it from Dubai because we were on 26.6 bandwidth. And when I got my US robotics 56 point whatever kbps modem, I was crying with joy because it doubled our speed. You know how it is, and we could finally upload shit from India. Even then, uploading a photograph used to take like 4 hours and cost big money because you were paying for the telecom bill, the phone bill, because we were all using dial up. But things have changed dramatically. And in is a word. Unlike all the other CCTLDs, even the popular ones, except for .tv, I would say, all the popular CCTLDs, in is a word. It's short. In fact, there are, I think, 14 new TLDs which start with IN. So if you're going to say, oh, traffic will leak to .com from any other CCTLD or TLD, which is not true anymore, but that's the narrative for the last 20 years. This will also hold true for the CCTLDs. Any typo error and they go to the dotted. Again, that's really not the game. The game is in India, a billboard, an average billboard will cost you about $500-600 a month, right? And you can do the very same thing or actually better with a domain name. Now, to set up a network of say 500 billboards in A, B, and C cities, metros A and B cities, not C cities, but metros A, B, and C cities, which will cost you about 50 crores or about um 10 crores would be about $1 million. So about $5 to $6 million would be your startup cost. Compare that to buying 500 domain names, even at $1,000 a domain name if you want good ones, will be only 500 grand. So your cost of deployment is not even 10%. Actually, it's much lower. $1,000, I'm being generous. You can get good domains for even reg fee.
Summit,
Okay.
everything you're saying, I've agreed with 2 decades ago. That's the reason we've made our investments in this space, right? But the problem is not that, and everything has come to fruition. Hey, if the rules were the same as .com, you and I would be living large. Maybe we'd even be, communicating a little bit further. But no, but what I'm saying is, the problem is the head honchos, the decision makers. They're the ones that are creating all these issues, and
No, but
unless
all the basic fundamentals of the registry have not changed. The primary function of the .in registry or the which is basically a functionary of the government, right?
No, no,
MeitY
no,
is the one
just
that makes the decisions.
correct. But like when I speak with you, I get it. You're a Modi buck. Everything is hunky dory. Yeah, I understand. People are not. I've seen people rowing to work. You're saying people are walking to work. They're rowing to work now in the rains over there. But that's okay. But what I'm saying is, there's issues with .in. You can't just make blanketed bans across words. I'll give you an example, Todd. I mean, you tell me if I'm being like ridiculous about this. They've banned words like game. If you have any domain name with the word game or fin, fin, fin is final. There's so many different anything, it's restricted all of a sudden. I mean, decisions like that, that's what I'm talking about. When they make blanketed decisions without even thinking, not that it's affected me too much, but because you just have to, then the onus is on you. You have to go out to them and tell them, no, I'm not using Fin for any kind of financial or Fin related things that are causing havoc to the industry. I'm using it for final game, NBA final, whatever finals. I'm using it in that sense,
No,
and
no,
then
but
they'll go
Paul,
ahead and. But
I
why?
I
Why?
have I have
Why
words
though?
with the I have domains with the word financial with them and fin with them with India in them. They have not asked me for any information. This is only for new registrations to prevent misuse, and we all know that. And even then, suppose you have a legitimate business. Suppose you have Paul's Clinic and you want paulsclinic.in. All you have to do is send them your registration or your company incorporation form, and you can register the domain. I know it takes a little doing; it's not instant. .in will never be .com in various ways, right? To start with, the main reason that the .in space has been created in 2005. Before that, it was only .co.in, and .co.in was only available to registered companies. The whole .in space was created to allow to facilitate other organizations, startups, smaller companies, non-registered entities, individuals, freelancers to buy an Indian identity domain to show that they're operating from India. The basic function of that hasn't changed, but at the same time, the registry at that time wasn't sharp enough to understand that domainers will come in and they will buy thousands of domains and all that. Or maybe they were and they didn't care because at that time there were no registrations. When the registry opened, there were 25,000 registrations. Even today, we are only at 4 million. In my opinion, we should be at 20 million. But that's another matter. Now, thing is, I honestly don't care because sales is just one function, It's like buying land only to sell. You can have a parking platform on that, you can have a building on that, you can have a mall on that, you can have whatever. So domains are the same. I'm using my domains as billboards. That's exactly what I'm saying. There are lots of ways to bell the cat. And if you really look at it, we looked at all the issues that they talked about. Oh, Nixie will take your domains. How many domains actually came out? 15. Let's assume another 15 were not declared. So let's say 30 domains were taken or 50 domains were taken. 50 out of 4 million, irrelevant. Second, they say, oh, Nixie only allows you two domains. The registrant toss hasn't changed. The terms of service are still the same. And this was clarified by Nixie on their social media and through an advisory on their website that anyone anywhere in the world can buy domains, can buy unlimited domains, can use them for whatever purposes. And I also met senior functionaries of the government. I don't want to name them, but I met senior functionaries of the government and of Nixie during ICANN, and they were pretty cool about it. They're like, basically, this is our stick to beat the bad actors. There's one guy in Romania or Bulgaria or one of those countries. He's registered 2000, 2500.com.ins with google.com.in, sbi.com.in, bank names, company names. Now, for those companies to file INDRPs for 2,500 names is also a bad look for the registry. So the registry is going to use these rules, as you call them, to beat those guys up.
Yeah.
And I
No,
don't have a honestly don't have a problem with that.
yeah, no, there's obvious ones like the ones you mentioned. Those are obvious. Those are no brainers. Those should just not even be gone that INDRP route. It should just be immediate. What my concern is when they reach their when any type of governing body reaches their tentacles out and they're trying to just see how far they can get with this crap. Is the way that I'm looking at it. They tried this 2 years ago. You remember? And when Zach just slapped one of their tentacles away, all of a sudden, all of them retracted. For 2 years, we haven't heard anything. Now, all of a sudden, they're starting to reach their tentacles again. They just need a little
No,
reminder that, hey,
in your opinion, what has changed that affects you and me? They
you,
said you can't list domains for sale. Has any listing been removed from Zero or DAS or anywhere?
no, but I mean, I'm not listing any of my domains because they're just one step away from. They're just one step away from a screenshot away from basically, saying changing the rules and saying that, hey, they were listed. Anyway, I'm the same. I'm in the same boat as you in terms of development. I'd rather develop. With the type of inventory that we have, I think we have a different mindset when it comes to domains. I don't know. Maybe it's unfortunately we have to say this. Hey, if the rules were .com, you think you and I would be talking about this mindset? No, we'd be listing our domains like a motherfucker. But we can't. So we have to come up with a creative way to go about it. And I think this is the solution that you and I have come across is, hey, we'll biddle as long as we can until we can, and maybe someone will buy out not the domain name, but what we're actually building behind it. That there's no rules about selling
No,
businesses.
no.
You put an end to that, and
Again,
that's the end
that's
to.
honestly, that's an individualistic take. I don't want to get into that. He said, she said, and this is how we should do it, and that is how it is irrelevant. If you're going to play in an ecosystem, actually go and read the, like, not the latest, but the terms of service which were there when Vincent was leading .ai. Go read them.
Hey,
Go see what's happening in the .io
I
space.
was letting this go
There's
on
always
because
rules.
you wonder why we don't talk about this because I owe everybody in the room. Well, I don't even know how much because I'm surprised we didn't just run them off. No, that's why people, listening to the .in stuff. I love when people approach you guys and say, "Hey, did you hear what Nixie said?" And you guys are like, we've been dealing with this forever. Everybody thinks they bring you. It's like haters bring you new news, and hey, but just to sum up one thing, well, a couple things about the .in is okay. So there's still that lawsuit that's going on. That Paul's right in a sense that yeah. So they implement new rules, and sometimes they'll have these rules on the books, and some like you're saying, well, they don't enforce them, but they can at any minute, and then. It's not, of course, everybody's like, if you got google.com.in, of course, go after that guy. Except when Paul says you can't use game or fin, and then a lot of the what was that court? I have it somewhere. It's the Delhi High Court. Okay, boy, that's crazy over there. But anyway, so they ruled that yeah, the registrars have to get rid of the who is, and we want to be able to go after these companies that are obviously infringing. We don't have problems going after these registrants because it's tough when you have this who privacy. So we want the who is removed, and then we also want to make sure that you registrars don't even allow names like common at McDonald's or something like that. The point is, so then we got registrars GoDaddy and Namecheap and a few others trying to overturn this ruling, and they're like, well, we won't even do business there. The issue is right. It's the power grab. Everybody likes the extension, and I think the play is what you guys are doing, and that is, well, now finally you got tools to help you sort of develop them out even in a minimal way, and then if somebody comes in and says, I want to buy that name or that business, and then they buy the business and they're like, we're going to change it from doggy daycare to an AI company,
Todd, this
they
is
can do
not
that.
new. I had 3,000 ins in 2011, 2012. And they were all developed using YPark. I don't know if you remember that, but they all had websites on them and they were all earning revenue. It's just that when Google Penguin Panda came, YPark died. I had to dump about 1,800 of them. And I did so. I just kept the best. But the point is, you have to play within the rules. And again, like you said, this is not Nixie making the rules. The Nixie is just an implementation body. The registry is run by Nixie, yes, but the rules are made by the Ministry of Electronics and Internet Information Technology. And even they are answerable to the courts. Today, if Delhi High Court issues an order and the ministry doesn't follow through on it, the minister can get pulled up. The Secretary of the ministry can get pulled up. And these are senior bureaucrats, senior politicians. They're not some low ranking stuff. They're in the national cabinet. You have to follow. There's a rule of law. Similarly, if tomorrow now this they've come out with this rule, let them try and enforce it, and then everybody will go to court. There was one case in which Nat Cohen, by the way, has a big, or at least he had a big portfolio of .ins. Someone filed an INDRP against one of his domains or two of his domains, and he went to court, and he got such a resounding victory from the court that those people ran away. They shut down their organizations or changed the name or whatever. I don't know, but they certainly didn't get those domain names. You have to defend your own assets. I got UDRP'd in 2009 when I just started. And for what? For my company name. I got John Burial to back me. I made it apparent to everybody that I will defend what is mine. And we got an RDNH. You have to defend your own assets. Today, if you have a land and someone comes and squats on it, and you're just going to sit there and cry, oh, what do I do? Get a bloody shotgun and go after them. It's the same. And in India, there are courts. Go to court. It costs literally nothing. It costs $50 to file a court case, maybe another $1,000 to appoint a lawyer. So it's going to cost you $1,000. You go to court. Nixie removed a registrar in 2017. That's where all this BS started, by the way, because the drop catch service was manipulating the drops, and they made a lot of money doing it for the last 8 9 years.
And all these people
But in
here.
2017, yeah, in 2017 they removed the registrar. The registrar went to court. He won in the lower court. He won in the high court. He won in the Supreme Court. In fact, the Supreme Court just dismissed the case, saying that we can't even listen to this because it's all BS. And Nixie lost. And Nixie had to really cover a lot of expenses. There's legal expenses. When you go through three levels of courts, even the registrar had to. But you have to defend what is yours.
Yeah.
And
Hold on. We don't want
they
to.
recovered. So,
We got. I was gonna say I'm letting it go on because I was trying to get Mark Mojica to leave the room. He's just so boring. Mark thinks it's boring. But before we move on from this, because I know Raghu likes me so much, of course he's thinking. So Todd's here hosting. He doesn't have to deal with Josh, who roughs him up sometimes. And then he's thinking, and those are my countrymen, motherfucking Samit and Paul. So Raghu feels like he can't believe this. He's so happy right now, and he's like. He's
Yeah,
patient. He doesn't even care. He's like, I'm with my people. These are my people. Okay, so
yeah,
Raghu, go ahead, and then we'll get on to our
yeah.
outline.
I enjoying it. I'm enjoying my summer. I'm having a good time here in Toronto, and I'm doing very well for my personal health. All this, despite that, I want to tell something to Paul. Paul, and it's something called free speech. We are the democracy of the world, the biggest democracy in the world. But at the same time, it gets misused in so many ways. The freedom of speech or democracy, and different part of the world. You are in different part of the world. You have a different mindset. Over there is a different mindset. They have to run a big corporation of 1.4 billion people versus 300 400 million in United States. So it's a different category altogether. So you can't just compare. Yes, internationally, yes, we have to look good and that. And now with the summit, he can tell better than me the percentage of the poor and the rich or the working class or technology. They're doing great about it. But what is the ratio? What is the affordability? Like, I don't want to get into the detail of India, but at the same time, it will boil down to 300 million people. I would say 500 million people is the par with the technology. Half of the India have no idea going to another city how will survive there. And we are talking about 1.4 billion people. So, so these things are actually makes a difference in the policies. And the top of that is a matter of pride of India because it's .in, it's not .com. They have to worry about the safety of people. They have to worry about porno stuff. They have to worry about so many political issues are there always from last 70 years happening in India. So keeping all that in mind, and if you think very calmly, you will get all the answers. So I'm not defending or trying to, but I think India is doing great in overall. They're in a progressive road, and it takes time. And the internet is still new. I mean, we are North America is head of India or other countries. Used to be gap of 10 years, not anymore though. But there's a gap in countries in a progress or who has money. It plays big role. So all considering in mind, I think India is doing good, and there are a long way to go. And all the best. That's all. That's all I wanted
You
to
know,
say.
this is painful. Hey, can we get some Gentiles and some Jews up here? I mean, this is a lot of India. I don't know, I'm just feeling uncomfortable. Okay, so listen, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. It's going to be controversial today. I've
And
already
not only
started this
that,
off.
look at here. Look on the stage.
What?
We are the majority right now.
I know
Okay,
it's
three Indians.
and
Okay, and one American. Well, what do you get? We are everywhere. Every third or fourth is
and
a Chinese or Indian,
Americans are
anyways.
bland
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, about that drink at a fucking coffee shop, Americano. What in the fuck is that drink? An Americano. It's like here's a coffee that tastes like shit, and we're going to pour some skim milk in it or something. We could fuck up anything. Okay, so um, I see Ryan's here. Ryan Ewen. Okay, so I had on my outline today, this $1 million challenge. This is something, I was going to just ask domain investors, do you think someone can turn, a dollar into $1 million in a year when they focus solely on domain investing? And Ryan is taking on this challenge, and we have some big announcements. I'm, thrilled to be working with Ryan on this. And what I mean is, we're, this is his challenge. He's going to take, basically a buck, turn it into $1 million within 1 year. I'll invite him here on stage in a second to speak, but I wanted to go around first. Summit, do you think it's possible? I mean, come on, we've been domain investing for a long
You
time.
don't you don't even need a buck.
Well, I
Let's
know,
be
but
honest about it. If you have knowledge, if you have enough knowledge about what sells, what doesn't sell, how how the domain business works. Look at the Booth brothers. They started off by getting deals to Braden and to Andrew Rosner and to all the big guys, Amar and everybody. And they leveraged that into fairly decent profits. At least James did, you know. I don't want to get into Andy, otherwise Dan Serrell, somewhere in the audience, you come and shoot me. But look at what James has done. He leveraged that into his own portfolio. At one time, he had 175 names. Today, I think he has 3 or 4,000, out of which 2,200 are .ai listed at Atom, and he's doing exceptionally well with them. Is it possible in 1 year? I don't know. I'm assuming if you can sell enough names, even if you don't own them, someone else owns them, or someone else asks you to sell a portfolio or whatever, you can make money. There's this new guy, he's asking me, why don't you give me like $10,000 and I'll make money in domains? I'm like, bro, come up the hard way. If you don't have the money, the $10,000 which you want to invest, other people's money into domains, you think you're smarter than the guys who've been doing it for 20 years? Prove it. Do the deals. There's always someone with money. You bring the domain, you bring a good price, they'll probably buy it and happily pay you commission, a finder's fee. We've all heard the Booth Brothers stories. There are lots of other people like that. I don't want to take names, but you know who I'm talking about, right?
well,
And even now, you have guys who just started 2 years back, like Yogi Solanki, or 4 years back. You have Tony Names who started it during COVID. He's already earned 4 million in sales. You have someone like Sweta who started in 2015, but her major sales started post COVID. She's made 6, 7, 8 million dollars in sales. How much of that is profit and all is another matter altogether. But can you convert money into $1 million? Maybe not in a year. Again, maybe uh, Ryan has a better handle on things, and maybe he knows what he's talking about. And it's not like he doesn't have money. He's bought DNW, he's bought all these websites from other people, and he's been moving and shaking in this industry for a bit. Do I think he's certifiable? Absolutely. But he could also be a genius. We'll know. It's very simple.
Well, I wanted to say you touched on a strategy that most people always overlook, and that is, yeah, you can start with nothing or a dollar, which is, just trivial amount, negligible, because you can do what Samit said. You basically connect with someone who has a name, help them sell a name. You get a little piece of the of the profit, or of the sale, and then you start from there. So Ryan has a lot of things up his sleeve. The big difference to what he's doing to a lot of the people that have done it in our business, and we've watched them make a lot of money, is complete transparency. And that's where I'm coming in to say, okay, because I was joking with Tony names too, and he says he did 4 million. All right, well, so I guess you spent 6 million and you made 4. That's the joke. It's like we need to know all the numbers. Okay, that's the main thing. That's what I want to do. Ryan wants to do, from the start as well. But there's always the domain investor saying, I'm going to be transparent, and then, needs his feet held to the fire, meaning, all right, let's talk about, we'll be making some announcements on how we're going to make sure everything is transparent and what are the rules to the game. But, the bottom line is you're going from $1 to $1 million in a year. Can it be done? Well, it certainly could be done. It's going to take just a ton of work, a lot of hours, a lot of great decisions, and there's going to, it's not all going to be successful. But the thing that I like is, about a challenge like this is we see guys on the internet, and Ryan and I talked about it, from Andrew Tate to Tony Robbins, and that is guys that have said, I can help you make money. Look at me. Look at the cars I'm driving. Look at the lifestyle I live. You want this too? And I remember going to, LAX, hotels, Anthony Robbins 30 years ago. And we're sitting there and it's like, do you want to drive a new Corvette by the end of the year? Can I see a show of hands? That's what I thought. The fuck I talk about. And anyway, I'm just, I've done fine in my life, and you got to ask yourself these good questions because your mind is powerful. And if you ask yourself bad questions, you'll lead yourself down a bad path. And I remember I was leaving Anthony Robbins, and I said, I see James with his thumb up. And the very first thing I said to my boss, who I was with, who I'm tight with today, I was 24, he was probably 29. And it's like, you got to ask yourself good questions. And I said, how come I never get to drive a new Corvette? He's like, don't ask yourself, how come you never? I did it because I'm always like, and anyway, I'll, self-deprecate too, not in front of you people. But the point is, you don't believe it. It's like most of the stuff they say at these fucking classes, or these they want to sell you the not just a class, but their whole system. But anyway, it's stuff you should have learned in kindergarten anyway, but most people didn't learn it. So they're being taught, man, can you believe that? I'm going to write it on my wall. Put a picture of a boat. I bet I get a boat. What the fuck are you guys doing? Had boats. Stupid. Okay. So the interesting thing about this is, when I was talking about, it's not, hey, I want to sell a class here. I'm going to show you how to do it. And there's a lot of different steps with regards to domain investing. And some you brought up, you can almost do it without buying a name. There's ways to make money in domain investing by connecting with people that have portfolios, or, even knowing, hey, I know I can buy a name there, or I can register a name there that's available. I've checked to see it's available. This whole group of names are available. Let me go and try to sell something, and it's legitimate ways of, front running, we'll say. But no, it's going to be a very interesting time this next year. And, no one, everyone loves, I saw, when Ryan was on the Sherpa show and they named it Aim High because of him, because he has very lofty goals. And, now what I think is good is, with all the stuff that he's, been launching and doing. All right, well, now it's time to really track it, really be transparent, and really, have a good time. Make it interesting, but have a good time. And plus, we're going to be at a mansion. We're going to do all sorts of stuff. And you see Ryan's picture, that gold hat and that jacket. It'll be on me soon enough. Right, Ryan? But no, thanks for joining us. And, I know we're going to be, Ryan does his, if you follow him on here on X, does these daily videos almost. And we're going to, continue to do some of those things, but then we're going to have a weekly, sort of a weekly progress report, but a weekly update of a call Ryan and I are going to start having every week about the $1 million challenge, and then a more thorough monthly update to talk about, all the transactions that have gone on, all the work that's been done, the hours put in, and there's going to be a lot of video following Ryan around. Like he says, sometimes he'll go from one city to another and try to sell a domain name, and we're going to be tracking. Hey, so that wasn't cheap to go to that meeting. Cost you a couple grand to fly over there. Okay, that's going to be an expense that has to be dealt with. I guess the point is Simon, you were talking about profits. We want to know if you can't, if you do $1 million in sales, if you spent more than $1 million to get there, who really cares? Who wants to mimic that? But anyway, it's got a lot going on. Yeah. Hey, Ryan, so you're there. So, well, what do you think about, some of the things I was speaking on? Or, what is going to be different about this challenge as opposed to all these other guys on the internet saying, hey, I can show you how to make $1 million? What are you going to be doing different?
Yeah. So first of all, let's start with a funny story. So I got an email today from GoDaddy, which is hilarious. I put a video up. Someone sent me a video about GoDaddy's scummy upsell techniques, and I put it on my Twitter. And then I got an email from GoDaddy today saying, "Hey Ryan, you should sign in and all this kind of stuff, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Look, guys," and I copied Joe in and James. I'm like, "Hey guys, thanks for the email. Really appreciate it. Obviously, I'm going to own the company in 18 months. I'm glad we have this opportunity to work together." So that was quite funny. And the challenge, right? Obviously, referring to the point about the Booth Brothers and everything else, that's amazing. But if you're starting today with no knowledge in the industry, you can't go and broker names because you don't know who to broker them for. You don't even know brokering exists and stuff like that. So I'm going to start with ICANN, right? I'm going to look through ICANN website and find all the accredited registrars, registries. Let's have a look at any opportunities going from the list from 1 to 1,500 or something. There's some marketplaces in there. There's that kind of stuff. So, and it's the pay-per-click thing. So maybe I'll just beg, steal, and borrow it. It gets into maybe step one is we'll front run legitimately, or we'll go through whether it is legitimate or not. But there are orphan domains. So we'll start there, and then the logical process here is then you go to forums and you go to events and you do this kind of thing. You build your profile, you do some wacky stuff, you get social media. You start brokering. But the initial thing is just less money equals more work, and I'm 100% confident I could probably do it in 6 months. But it's the highs and lows, and will I do it or not? Like I'm literally going to have someone living with me, videoing everything for other things as well, because we're buying a sports brand and other things like that. So for me, there's a ton of work, right? But I work long hours, and I think it's a responsibility for me to stand up and cash that check, right? Once and for all, someone's going to come along and put their money where their mouth is, and I'm okay to be that person because I've done it. I've genuinely done it, and that's how I'm here. So yeah, let's go. And it'll be a bit of fun with Todd as well, which is really good that he's adjudicating.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, we're going to really make the big announcement. We're going to make announcements over this, here in July, but we're really starting this thing, launching it July 31st, August 1st. So at the end of the month, we're like, okay, the shit hit the fan. The thing has started. The whistle's blown. We're starting this thing. The clock's ticking, and then we'll pick a day. It's looking like Friday, but and we're both busy. But we're like, listen, we have to. If he's really going to do this, and I'm really going to monitor, and we're going to report on the progress. Well, we need to have a meeting. Ryan and I do, and we've had some, but one that we're going to do weekly that we're going to let everybody in on. And we'll stream it on YouTube, and we'll stream it maybe on dick.com. We're going to make sure you can follow along. Yeah.
I've got a good announcement, right? So I've just slammed Darpan for his comment about their distribution with Dynadot, right? I'll give a exclusive right now in terms of what distribution should look like. Okay, so for about a year, we've worked on this partnership. Now, for those, I don't know if anyone knows Rory Sutherland, but he's essentially a marketing guy from the UK, and he talks about how just marketing ideas and how things work and stuff. So he always goes on about Rolls-Royce. So Rolls-Royce cars, typically British, They don't have showrooms and stuff. They display at air shows and only air shows, because when you're looking at 100 million Learjet, a Rolls Royce is pretty much free. So with that analogy, we have agreed terms. This is so no one knows about this yet. We weren't going to announce it till Monday. But if you look at a website called millionplus.com, you'll see on there that it's just gone live with some of the assets. Some of it's for demonstration purposes and some of it's signed up. But basically, have a look at that website, right? This is the most exclusive marketplace you'll find. This is, in terms of the owner, is essentially represents the PIF fund in Saudi. He represents and has done work with Mr. Beast. There's a whole range of stuff. Right? Look at the degeneracy on this website in terms of property and helicopters and planes, the most random shit you've seen in your life. And then have a look in the menu and see what you see. Right now, that's innovation. That took a long time to come together. And obviously, it hasn't been publicly announced. But have a look at millionplus.com. Right, that's innovation. That's the way to put premium domains. None of this shit about domainnames.com and all this crap. And the announcement's going to follow along the lines of we're going to advertise on Times Square around Million Plus and actually punch out domains like pineapple.com, where we've built a casino app to demonstrate this kind of thing. We've been working on it for a little while, but you watch it go parabolic. And this is the kind of innovation and one of several announcements that's coming in the next few weeks, where we've quietly been building, got the tech and everything else ready to go. So if you have a dollar domain or you have a multi-million-dollar domain, we have a solution for you. And as domainers, it's really exciting because we're open to collaborate with people, proper distribution, none of this shit about, oh, let's list on Sado. Right? Ultimately, if you have a Rolls Royce, you don't need to list it in 15 garages. People come to you because it's desirable, right? And when you start thinking about domains that way, you get rid of all this other dog shit that people go, like, if you're selling a domain for $100 or something, yeah, go to GoDaddy, right? You've got serious investment of 50 grand, that you put it somewhere where people are looking at watches and all the other stuff, right? And have a look. By all means, have a look. And that's a breaking thing. Don't share it with anyone.
I think went to the site. It's awesome, and I understand what you mean there about having domains on a platform that's not domainnames.com. But Ryan, and I would say about domainnames.com, that premium marketplace, ultra premium that GoDaddy has. There's, say investors like I know the Costello brothers. They just couldn't help himself. Been traveling around, both of them, but I'm talking about David right now, and he was just saying, here's that brand GoDaddy that people worldwide know about. He believes that brand means something so much that's why he wanted to put some of their single word names on domainnames.com. I don't know how effective it has been for these premium assets, so I don't know, but I understand his decision to do it because he just felt like, I go everywhere, no one knows a damn thing about domains. They only know about GoDaddy, so their presence, the marketing that they've done is valuable. How do you compete with that? Or
I mean, look at the website shit. Domain names is shit, right? GoDaddy isn't a featured brand there. In the real world, right? This is the same as having if you go to the butchers in the UK and you get a steak, you get the best steak, right? Otherwise, you go to Aldi or Lidl or Walmart, right? You don't get $50 steak, $100 steak in Asda. So why would you possibly put $1 million domain in domainnames.com? It's utter lunacy, right? GoDaddy is an entry-level thingy with AI crap by people who go and collect a paycheck, that don't bespoke market, that don't put money behind it, that don't generate awareness. The one thing I respect Atom for is they actually put some money behind pay-per-click. And that was the thing. It is what it is, without slamming them too much. But no, I don't believe in people that are ultra wealthy, having sold domains for $1 million, having sold domains for 10 million, having bought domains for 5 million. I know what ultra high net worth people look for, and it is definitely not GoDaddy. That's irrelevant, right? They have their own legal team, their own solicitors. You don't need the ICA, you don't need any of this shit, right? You're talking about ultra exclusive stuff, right? And it's just a totally different world. So, with trying to get in boxing.com with the PIF and stuff, how do you make those inroads? Because it certainly is not with someone knocking about on a $1 domain that, it's just not where it's at. This is the future. And you'll see, because the name serves a repoint, it'll be publicly listed. It will be publicly out there. We're going to, like anything on our platforms, we are going to tell, we're not going to hide behind an NDA. If you want to buy the domain, fantastic, right? Unless they pay a scandalous donation to charity, we will be talking about every deal we do, because that's how you get a floor price. That's how you get a market. That's how you make a market. And Domains is ready for that now. And Million Plus is just one example how we are changing things properly. It's not more exclusivity with Sado. I mean, come on, get a life. It's ridiculous.
We're going for 30 more minutes today, but I am going to be talking about the Atom and the Dynadot, this new partnership that they have. And so I'm going to touch on that right now. But I wanted to say, anybody in the crowd, come on up. I'm going to be, I would like to hear your thoughts on some of the things Ryan's discussing, but then, this Adam and Dynadot, partnership. But Ryan, so you're talking about a couple things. The bespoke market, the really expensive, this millionplus.com, it's really cool. I like that. But that's not for, everyone. This challenge I want to get to, who is the challenge sort of focused for? Can somebody who is a brand new domainer, are you going to be showing them how to go from, but they got a lot to learn along the way. They'll be jumping right in the deep end, but who is the challenge for to teach? Like, say if you're the teacher, who will be making up the class? Is it just every level of domainer? Is it for beginners? Is it for already the ones that know what?
Yeah, I think for someone who, I mean, look, everyone knows about crypto, right? Everyone knows about NFTs, or a lot of people. People know about Web3. People know about Andrew Tate. People know about all this Fugazi shit. Let's show them from step one what a domain name is and how we go from there. So for me, it's basically if you're a semi-competent human that can turn on a computer, then this is for you. And if you're semi-competent, you can grow quite quickly. And we'll have, I think the idea is to bring on guests as we grow, and there'll be stuff within the in the episodes. Like, so if we're talking about extensions registered, there might be a split off video, or there might be some links to a PDF or a video about, say, why extensions is important or age. So there'll be, I think the idea is that basically for anyone who's looking to have a side hustle, or I guess like Gary Vee, isn't it? Gary Vee is very successful and he still goes and does car boot sales, or garage sales, whatever you call them in America. So anyone who can do that can follow along from domains. And that's why I can't go in and use my network and go, oh, what the Booth brothers done, because that's not realistic for someone who knows nothing about it. You wouldn't know who Braden is, or Andrew Rosner, or Nat Cohen, or any of these other things. You wouldn't know them, right? You'd pick it up over time after going to forums and events and watching Sherpa. And so part of the education that we can impart with them is we've got Sherpa, right? All the information is there. We've got forums, all the information is there. So it's just making it obvious and logical, because I've spent literally hundreds of hours talking to people who don't know anything about domains. And within 1 hour, I can explain to someone how to make their first dollar sale on domain names. And within 3 months, I think they'd be on $20,000 a month. That's where I'm at. And so I'm going to have to turbocharge that to do my stuff. But that's how I started, right? I bought a domain. Well, I've obviously got a lot of experience with the internet, right? But when I switched to domains and I got mayfair.com and everything else, it was very transactional. It was very, I realized quite early on that if I tie my cash flow up, I'm fucked. And so then you branch into other things, and then you end up with portfolios and dollar domains and all this kind of stuff. And then you end up lending money, and you're lumped with 10,000 domains. You're like, shit, am I going to lose money? What do I do? And you have to hustle and find a way to turn that basically shit into money. And I don't mean it, I shouldn't be disrespectful about certain stuff, but in reality, there's almost, I guess, I've been doing some coaching with Paige in terms of and Alan Hack back in the day. And ultimately, I guess the reality of the situation is when I'm buying domains, right, I'm brutal. Okay, it's data. Show me the data, show me the data, show me the data. Now I do that because I can beat you over the head with it in any way which I choose. So I'm like, oh, not enough registered extensions. Oh, it's 1 year old. Oh, it's this, that, and the other. And then you go through this magic curtain, and then suddenly every domain I own is beautiful. It's a gem. It's a rose. We can water it. We can grow it. We can, cultivate it. And so I'm going to take people on that journey, right? We beat people over the head with data to get what we want. You can't argue with data, and then you go out the other side and everything's beautiful and rosy. And on the higher end domains, this is where people, I think for domainers, where they'll benefit from is understanding just because you pay $10 for a domain, don't be a pussy and not sell it for 10 grand. Or if it's on name bio, right, you just need to get the skills to help people understand why it's worth 10 grand. And the property analogy is 100% true. If you get a property next door for $100, you can still sell it for 100 grand, right? Because you're astute, you're in the right place. It's like, I think with Arif, I think I was saying about the logo thing, if I design your brand identity for 10 grand, you're like, Ryan, I love it. And then I say it took me an hour, you'd be like, whoa, what's going on here? So I think there's learnings across the board for everyone. And that's how we go mainstream, and everyone can get behind it and learn and make money ultimately.
Yeah, when you bring up it's like when people ask for advice, and you charge for it, and then you give them some great advice, and it really comes quickly. And then they want to write back off. Well, I didn't know. Like you see on the internet. Well, I didn't know you were going to be able to do my driveway in fucking 3 hours. I don't want to pay you the $6,000. I'll give you three. Some people are professionals. We've worked our whole lives to be able to name your company something, good and attractive, and you've paid 30,000 for it, and we've done the work within a week, because usually it's because of a long term, a long life of experience and doing that. But Ryan, before we go on, I want to say, Summit, this Atom Dynadot connection here, and I was looking at some names. Basically I'd go to Dynadot and I'd search a name that I knew was in the Atom Premium, whatever, and it does come across, their registration path just shows that it's available, and vice versa. Well, okay, I mean, I can see why you'd want to, why they'd want to do it. It only, you know, uh, widens the, I guess, the marketplaces or the portfolios or whatever. But did this even hit your radar, Summit? It was sort of a new announcement by Atom and
I just
Dynadot.
saw it.
Yeah.
I understand why Dynadot would list Atom premiums because they do it for Afnic, they do it for other. I think they used to do it for Cedo. I think they stopped that. But it makes sense, right? It's distribution. Regpath is still 50, 60%, 70% of the sales for most domains. So makes sense. I don't understand the other way around. Why would Atom list Dynadot listings? Because a lot of Dynadot listings are crap. Unless they're going to do them as regular listings and not premium listings, the whole point of Atom is curated brandables. And if you're going to do away with that and just have anybody list any shit on Dynadot and it shows up on Atom, it defeats the purpose for Atom, I think. So again, this is all guesswork, right? These guys are smart. Todd is smart from Dynadot. Darpan is smart from Atom. By the way, I met Darpan also at ICANN. But these guys know what they're doing. They're not. I mean, it's very easy for a domainer or someone like you and me who's honestly had no experience running these $1 million companies to sit and pass judgment. But these guys really take the time and they plan everything out. They're not stupid, right? And they make mistakes. Sure, we'll know. It's their money. It's their deal. Let's just go with the flow. Just look at it this way. When you and me started Todd, there was literally nothing. We had to look for every resource individually, build your own lists. There was literally no information beyond the forum. And now you see, for a new person who's entering the industry, someone just posted, I think it was Go Expired who just posted that you need $60,000 and 2,500 domains to make 60 grand a year. Of course, his math doesn't play out because he says 2% sell through rate, and that doesn't always happen, especially if you pick shit. But yeah, there are a lot more tools now. They're like at least 10, 15 new sites which help you choose domains. There's Domain Smoke, there's Go Expired, there's so many other new sites, right? These were didn't exist back then. Even Dot Weekly, uh, Jamie's site, that's pretty good. So and it's stuff like expired domains. Expired domains is a revelation. People don't understand the power behind it. Every dropping domain with all the details, majestic, SEO, backlinks, way back dates, registration dates, number of TLDs registered, CPC. They're literally spoon feeding you. If you still can't pick good domains, maybe domaining is not for you. I know newcomers, a rank newcomer started about 4 months back. This guy has no idea about domain names, literally. He's been hand raging stuff. He's at about 200 odd domains now. He's at 3 sales, only 2K total. But this is an absolute noob. And what is he doing? He's picking up names from all these lists, going and hand registering what he can, and he's listing them. And he's at 3 sales. That means it is doable by anybody with half a brain. And people still get it wrong. Amit, I don't know if he's there in the room, but Amit scanned a lot of the Afnic listings. So his wife was away, so he's been spending a lot of time making love to Claude. And he's built a software which, you know, goes through the 100,000 drops and picks out like 200 names worth registering, and then he does a manual sort or whatever. He was telling me that about of all the listings on Afternic, 90% will never sell. They're crap. It could be old crap, it could be new crap, but it's still crap. That means if you actually go in with some research, with some data, with some information, you have a better than average chance of making sales. I am sitting on inventory which is 10 years old. You are sitting on inventory. We are not buying new, at least I'm not buying new names. So I'm not bothered. And I'm also selling that 1% is selling. Maybe not in terms of number of domains, but yeah, my registration renewal costs are covered. I don't make too much profit. I'm not making millions like Tony or like Shweta and all that. But I didn't invest millions to start with. A lot of the inventory I picked up was closeouts, small auctions, other people's portfolios. And it took me a long time to build up to my portfolio. And right now I have literally 400 names listed for sale. So 4 names a year is pretty much par for the course. Last month I sold a bulk lot, 14 names. So when you need cash, it's available. Of course, most domainers, when they're buying from other domainers, they want to pay $50 or $20 or $30. But the good inventory, even there, is about 500, 700. You're not getting names on auction today for anything less than 1,000, $1,500. So if you know what you're doing and you play the game right, there's no better time than today than for domaining than has ever been. And it might sound that's very optimistic, but it's true. If I start buying now, I'm pretty sure I can churn up a portfolio of maybe about 1,000 names in the next year or so. I'll have to spend a little money like everybody else is doing. But it's a lot easier now. There's a lot more data now. There's a lot more people. I mean, just imagine the kind of information that Josh shares. Nobody used to share that kind of information earlier. And now it's all open. It's all low hanging fruit. Now it's up to you. You want people to earn and give it to you? No one's going to do that, man.
Hey, everybody, if you got something to say, we're going to go for 20 more minutes. I want to ask Ryan something and then go to Arif because the topic's going to sort of go together. About the Atom and the Dynadot. You know, what I like is Darpin and Todd are both ICA members, and we can interact with them, and they both have these, big, I like both companies and do business with both companies. They both have big engineering teams, and this integration with each other must have been nothing. I mean, fuck, they didn't need a bunch of engineers to do it because really just having access to each other's listings. But I wanted to first ask Ryan a couple things. One, and then we'll go to Arif. I wanted to say, what was your thoughts on why this is not a great, this integration, this working together between these two companies doesn't matter. And then I wanted to transition into a flower. Now I wanted to transition then to talking of what Samit was saying about back in the day we had nothing, and then finally a forum came along, and I loved it when Name Pros came along, had somebody to share some stuff with, and that's what I wanted to transition to is about using Name Pros as you've done, Ryan, for sort of price discovery, putting names up there at $1 and letting them go, and some other people have done it recently. And so I want to go from, I guess it's 3 topics: the Name Pros price discovery, the Atom and Dynadot integration, and then finally about the ICA. Tony Names is a member. I just said, of course, Darpin and Todd are, but Tony Names, and Ryan, you always bring up, we need people from Argentina, which we don't want Argentina. Okay, just kidding. But we want more people from around the world. Well, I think they've made it pretty
Paul's
welcoming.
a member too, Todd.
Huh?
Paul's a member too.
Yeah, I know Paul's a member, but you're a member, right? Aren't you a member, Summit? Or no? Anyway,
I think
okay.
No, I'm not a member.
So Ryan, there are people that are all these topics I'm talking about, but there are members from around the world, and I think they're welcoming. But it takes two to tango. Yeah. So some of these people in India, if they don't want to participate, they know about the organization. How do you think ICA can make it more welcoming? And then, Arif, I know you have thoughts on the ICA's mission, and I'd just love to hear the conversation. But Ryan, go ahead, touch on those topics if you will, and then pass
So
it to her.
let's talk about Mine and Dot and Atom. So look, the thing is, the reality of the situation is they're basically both. They're both like nice people. They've been around for a long time, and it's fantastic. One of them reached, can't remember what Dynadot reached 5 million names. Right, it took like fucking 300 years. Right, I'm on a different timescale to these people. This is not innovation. And I'm here to kick their ass so that they step up and do something meaningful. Because I spoke to Darpan back in the day when I acquired DNWE, and I gave him some of our ideas, and lo and behold, he then implements them because they've got no creativity, no anything. My ideas are now implemented on their site. So, and again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's good. Someone needs to come along and go, do you know what? I'm going to show you how it's done. I'm going to show you 1 million plus. I'm going to raise the bar, and you guys can either join with it or you can stay behind. I really couldn't give a fuck. So is it good distribution? Not really. I think Darpan had some interesting ideas around getting in with like companies' houses and stuff. But if you look at the innovation, and this is the danger of kind of drifting a little bit away here from that specific relationship, which is irrelevant, right? Is it more distribution? Yeah, kind of. It's just shit going and more shit. And you guys are like, oh, we love it. It's innovation. I'm like, just tell them to fuck off and come put your domains on our platform, because the biggest sales technique, you're being absolutely screwed by GoDaddy and everyone else, because I've got a platform and I've had 100,000 names or 60,000 names on there. And people bypass your listings and come to the contact page. And I go, oh, guys, look at me. I've got a buy for your domain. Like, how about the fact that like that's kind of wrong? Every time you change name servers, that's the biggest sales driver, and you guys don't know because you haven't got platforms with enough domains on there. I'm like, hey guys, we're over here, come and use us, right? And we can do this kind of thing. And part of it, I haven't wanted people on platform because domainers are basically fucking miserable people that won't pay a fair price, moan all the time, and that. And then you're like, when you get to my level, I don't even need domainers. I want end users. So I need 1 million plus. I need these kind of things, right? I've got the best stuff, and you'll just see lead by example. So part of it's to be harsh on them deliberately. It's like the ICA. I put a video up today on ICA. Who's commented in this room? No one. I told you what the ICA needs and stuff like that. And it was a positive video. And Tony Names and all that. It's great. He's achieved success, and now we have to watch him go on about his fucking gym and stuff. I couldn't give a fuck. How about he gives back some information that isn't cryptic and he helps out like I'm doing, or like Michael Seiger did back in the day, or Drew did with the costs, or Ishmili and Josh and all these other people, Todd, you're relentless here, and Arif and all these people. How about we all collectively get behind something that actually adds value? And so also you have to be careful what you wish for, right? Because in me doing the $1 million to the dollar to a million, there are going to be a shitloads more hungry people that come in and be like, fuck me, I'm a developer, I'm going to have some of this, and I'm this, that, and the other, right? It is going to change, because I saw it with a new guy that's come on board, right? And his eyes changed when he understood. He's been with me 2 weeks. When he understood the main thing, his eyes changed. He's like, Ryan, fuck, I know about crypto, I know about NFTs. Why the hell do I not know about domain names, which are fucking legitimate? You can go and get it for $1, $10, whatever it is, right? It's the greatest opportunity of wealth creation ever. It is the easiest. I'm gone. Some of you might know me, some of you might not, but we're doing other things in and out. But so that's the Todd thing. The ICA, yeah, I'll put a video up. Right, if you want to have a meaningful conversation, go and fucking put a video yourself under my post and tell me what you want from the ICA. Tell, like, for me, it's about being more involved. It's having contracts in all languages. It's holding the UK non-net to account and all that kind of stuff, right? India, not acceptable at all. They're stifling innovation. They're stifling stuff. It's not fair. It's not right. Same as Japan and everything else. Get together and you're a different beast and different animal. But there's whether you like it or not, there's a cartel, right? The cartel in domain names. It's convenient to just feed people with utter shit, right? And go, hey, look, we've got innovation. And everyone's like, yay, clap our hands. Hey, let me put my domains for you. So this is on you as well, and everyone in this room, yeah? And yeah, anyway.
No, Ryan, we got you. I would say, Arif, I want to hear your comments, but then we're going to finish up today about being, selling names on name pros, domain investors. I think there's something there, meaning I love that some people have put names beginning at $1. Ryan did with a 3-letter that went to 15,000. Another gentleman just did a 4-letter, but it really does. It shows
amazing.
Yeah.
Name pros is amazing, right? They're really engaging. They're always like, Ryan, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? How can we work together? I think they're amazing. I think the Freelander's genius. I think the community is amazing. I know there's been tours and fro's and people have been members and not members. Name pros, in my opinion, is amazing. They're really like at the forefront of stuff. And ideally, I would have given them DNWE had people have voted for it, because they would have done something unique with it, and it would have been private. It would have been an extension of the forum. And finally on that, same as DN Forum and Acorn Domains, these forums are super valuable, as are events, as are people, who give their time to go to NamesCon and events and everything else. So it's all got a massive part to play. And you want price discovery, that's name pros, right? That's it. Put it in front of enough people and let's see what the market decides. So yeah, big thumbs up to name pros. I think I'm quite passionate as a person. So basically, if I think you're a knob, I'm going to tell you're a knob, and I think you're good, I'm going to tell you're good. And if I'm wrong, just tell me, and I'll look into it, and I'll apologize if I'm wrong.
And Eric and some of those people over there operating name pros, there are a lot of eyes on there. I know, Eric's going to say something here in a second. It's like, question, well, it was popular then. It's more popular now than it ever was, but I know some people drifted away because they didn't like it. They didn't like it, like some of the people. It's like being here on X. You can come across a lot of people that you don't like, and then you can think, well, I'm done with that whole platform. But as a domainer, so there's not a lot of forums. I like name pros. We're going to touch on that. Arif, what comment questions do you have? And thanks for being here.
You guys touched about 4 or 5 different things I want to talk about before I got to talk. So, the first thing with name pros, I'm not nothing against name pros. I used to be very active on it. The start of my domaining path, maybe almost 10 years ago now, nine years ago to about maybe 6-7 years ago. I just kind of drifted apart a bit because the moderation really wasn't very good back then. There was a lot of bickering and arguing and whatever it was, and it just felt like the ownership team was more concerned about making money than they were about actual domains. Right? That might have changed over time. I just haven't really jumped back too much into it. More of a time thing. It's nothing personal. They have reached out to me a couple of times about, oh, you want to get back involved, this and that. And like they sound like it's probably they've gone in the right direction. So I just haven't really had time to jump in as much as I wanted to. That's name pros. For ICA, when I stood up 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago and 2.5 years ago, it was about what the scope of the ICA should be, right? And they never really addressed that. The last time, 1.5 years ago, when I did stand up, they kind of shot me down right away when I said we should, talk about the scope. And then afterwards, they approached me and they said, yeah, we're going to talk about this. We're going to bring it up, and nothing ever came of it. So we're 1.5 years later. And as far as I know, I think they talked about it in New York, but New York is like just the richest of the richest ones, right? And so I don't, nothing, they haven't announced anything. They haven't said what was there. So I don't know what came of that. For me, the best example, this is a bigger discussion, but, the breaking up of Ticketmaster and Live Nation, right? Again, I'm not saying that anything is wrong in this industry, but as Ryan also pointed to, there's a lot of stuff that we really need to look at and analyze a little bit more. I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong, but for me, why can't Cedo list their domains at GoDaddy, right? Why is it exclusive to Afternic, right? But all these things is different companies that some of these biggest players own. It's like, well, why isn't this? Or are they using this leverage to get advantages in other things that stomps out on competition? And so. That's really what I want ICA to look at. I'm not saying, I'm not saying GoDaddy's doing anything wrong, but I'm saying I would like, given that their market share, their massive market share, we need to be looking at some of these contracts and going, well, is there stifling going on in other aspects of the business? Are they using one part to leverage the other unfairly? Again, I'm not saying it's done, but I'm saying that's the ICA should be looking at stuff like that to see if it is there. Should for their action be taken or not? Maybe not. Again, without that information, we're just going blind. But I mean, there's certain parts of this industry, again, marketplaces. Well, many marketplaces don't succeed because they can't list their domains directly into GoDaddy. Now, again, why is that? Well, I wouldn't say, well, yeah, because obviously GoDaddy owns Afternic and that's this and blah, blah, blah. But that is anti-competitive, right? So what do we do? Most people in this industry simply do not care. When I stood up at ICA, there was numerous individual domainers who came up after me and said, thank you. And you're right. Especially since I said it the year before, they knew I was going to say it. So, but everybody's quiet. Nobody wants to stir the whatever it is, right? It's like, I'm not really even saying anything strongly against GoDaddy. I'm just asking questions, but nobody wants to rock the boat because everyone has their connection with GoDaddy for this or for that. And it's just everybody in this is positioned in a certain way that they're profiting from something somewhere. And they don't want to rock the boat, right? Even if they know it's the right thing to do, and there's certain questions that we need to ask, nobody wants to ask them, right? And so it's just that's my issue with I think the scope of the ICA should be broadened. I think stuff like that should be looked at. When I was at the ICA 1.5 years ago and I stood up, they go, well, we don't want to police our own, right? Because obviously GoDaddy is a member of the ICA. Again, afterwards they came up to me privately and said, well, we're going to look into it a little bit more, and we understand your point. And it was just like, heat of the moment that I was shot down a bit. But, it is what it is. The other thing too, when it comes to investing for newcomers, I don't, I understand what Ryan is saying, but I don't think, handing somebody $10, the average person, it's not that simple. Most people lose money in this industry. I think, if you can give them proper education, even then, most people lose money, but obviously the percentages will be better. But it takes a lot to make money in this industry. It takes a lot to identify profitable domains. It's tough because it's like, most people when they come in, they don't understand the difference between a 1% sell through domain versus a 0.1 sell through domain, right? But that's the difference between making a nice little profit, like I do, versus completely losing your shirt and never really being profitable at all. The fact of the matter remains that most people who attempt domain investing never become profitable, and most we lose touch with them after the first year, first cycle, or second cycle of renewals. As I think I've touched upon enough there.
Let me say something, and I know Ish always thinks Todd's always ICA pro ICA, and I am mostly because of I know from John Berry Hill to Jeff Newman to there's a lot of people that are very outspoken right against GoDaddy. The thing is, I like when people spout their opinions. So I don't like when I hear people say they don't want to. I'm not political. I don't want people to know how I feel about this issue. That's just how some people are. They don't want to. They don't want to be confrontational. And plus, sometimes they're just like, I don't care. You want me to care? I don't give a shit. So a lot of people don't care about the issues with GoDaddy. But I don't think there's I don't think there's any. There's plenty of people in the space. We know who in our space, and most of them are ICA members, but a lot of them aren't, that they don't care. You don't have to be an ICA member. I'll say from Mike Mann to Rick Schwartz, there's some guys, they don't bite their tongue, but you're not going to get them. And I know from Chad Folkening, these guys are like, man, a lot of us lone wolves have done business. We're entrepreneurs, and I include myself in with it, that, listen, if we want to say something, we'll say something. And I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of those guys. And I think also you can't, and I was thinking about, it's like a car lot. Well, some of us don't get along. So I don't want to help sell your names. If I was a broker and there's some guys that have great names, I think, I don't give a shit. I don't want to work with you. I think you're a loser. Okay. And sometimes companies feel that way about other companies. I don't want to help your company sell your shit. And if you think I'm breaking the laws because I'm a public company in the U.S., then we'll see you in court, big timer. I don't give a shit. So sometimes just flat out companies, I don't want your cars on my car lot. And you're saying, well, you're on the main road and I'm way in the back and it's not helping. Sit on this and spin around is what they're saying. And I was flipping off, using my phone. Soon I'll be on dick.com live stream so you can see me do that.
There's also,
go ahead.
But what people don't know is that, with GoDaddy, there are some of the biggest names in the industry who have NDAs with GoDaddy. And also part of that agreement is not to slack off or slag off too much on GoDaddy, right? Again, I don't know the specific exact details, but I do know people who I've approached in the past, multiple people,
sure,
right?
And of course, okay, so why aren't they allowed to have it? That's like GoDaddy paying people to promote. Look, when you watch Domain Sherpa and you see all the different people that pay to be advertised on there, well, what do you think?
I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, I know you want to think GoDaddy is they've grown so big that now you act like they're fucking Bank of America or something. They're a mortgage company that's so big like years ago where you can't let them fail or they're stomping on other people. I look at they're not the big giant that you think. They're well known because of their marketing and so on. Except, listen, we watched their stock crash. We watched other companies basically grow. We were talking about Dynadot growing and Namecheap and just a lot of other companies, assets under management. We didn't even talk about the .de today. Now there's 18 million .de names, and believe me, when you're in Germany, someone says, "Oh, you don't have the .com," they could care less. They're like, "We're on the .de, and we want it that way, and we're not worried about. Don't talk to us about bleeding traffic." But my point is, you've always felt like GoDaddy is. They've earned their right to make some of their own decisions. I like the idea of we can avoid them, and then From my sales this past year, I don't know if it would have hurt me if I would have avoided GoDaddy altogether or not. That's how low the sales have been. So
I could never avoid GoDaddy. I'm a profitable domain investor because of GoDaddy. Like I'm not completely anti GoDaddy. I just want to be able to ask the questions.
okay,
And there's
but the
certain
but the
things
point
that
I want to say is no, you weren't the only brave ones. John Berryhill doesn't give a shit, and neither does Jeff Newman.
yeah.
He stood up and
But
said, and
John Belly,
but you
John
can't. But all
Berryhill
the
and
other
Jeff are
guys,
not investing.
even Amar was saying at that same meeting, yeah, you guys need to come up with a checkout link, or I'm going to stop doing business with you because I'm not paying 15% or 20 or 25% commission when I bring the lead. And then GoDaddy does a few things. But my point is, I've always liked that the ICA, when I'm there, I never felt like, hey, I like that they went out and got everybody to join as much people as they can, and then we're there, nothing's off limits. No one tells you, hey man, have anybody ever told you? They never told me, Todd, don't make a joke about that. And boy, it's just going to get crazier and crazier
Well,
as the
Todd,
future.
were you in the room a year and a half ago when I stood up?
Yeah, I was there.
Let me
They
just say,
did tell me they did take the mic away from me, and they did say, "Well, we're not going to police her out."
Well,
Right? It's not true.
okay.
I know it wasn't meant in that way, and I like the ICA. I'm a member of the ICA, and I support the ICA. I think what sending Zach to the ICANN meetings is critical for us as domain investors.
We
right?
know all that
But-
stuff. Hold on, Ryan's going to say something
just think that-
controversial. We got a couple more minutes. Go ahead, Ryan.
not controversial, but I think that the ICA should have infrastructure, right? They should have landing pages. They should have sales agreements. They should be bringing the brightest minds and the youngest talent across, whether that's for a scholarship or a bursary or whatever it is, like Swether and other people who are doing something different. It shouldn't just be about protecting the rights of domain owners. It should be educating domain owners. It should be what's best practice. It shouldn't be mandated. It should be, I'm proud to be part of the ICA because it's independent, and the only way for it to be independent is basically some people putting their hands in the pockets so they're not relying and sucking the cock of fucking Atom and all the other shit providers. Basically, it should be the members that are making millions and millions of dollars, like that guy that got up and did 70 million. So why didn't he put his hand in his pocket? Right, I'll put mine in, and then you've got Braden and all these other fucking people. Let's all just pay up, right? You want independent? Well, you can tell GoDaddy they can be a member. That's cool, right? But when you take 50 grand for them or 100 grand for them, you're the bitch. And that highlighted by the fact you can't even link to their website because it's so corrupt and thing. And this is the thing. They're basically, my main frustration with them is they're full of shit. Everyone wants change and all that, but no one really wants change because otherwise I would have had a meeting with them. I as a member, I deserve the right to go on panel and say, hey, I want to have a fucking Zoom meeting with every member to go in and say, you're not doing good enough. This is my proposal. But it's not. Instead, they want to sell out to fucking DNX was on there the other week selling their products, and everyone else, it's absolute bollocks. They talk shit. That's my only thing. It's utter bollocks. And that's the truth.
Well, there's new leadership now. Hold on. There's new leadership, and Nat is smart and tough. And Nat is, it is new leadership. The old, leader of the organization, a lot of us barely knew the guy. We'd see him only at the annual meetings, and he was he CETO council? I don't even know. And I'm member, and I'm smart, and I have a memory like Mary Lou Henner. Okay, but the point is, there's new leadership. We're going to be on calls, and we're going to be, and I speak with Nat. I'll speak with him today, and about what is going to be different now that you're there. But I'm loving the future of it because we know the business is really the domain investing is growing, but the business of domaining is, and Ryan, it's one of your challenges basically is, making this, it's what a lot of the guys that I work with, from Chad to you to Jeff Newman, want to make this, a class bigger, a digital asset class that the world knows about. And, the ICA is a big piece of that. I mean, because that's where, a lot of us, that's where the main membership is. If somebody wants to start another membership, another group, I say, I'll go for it. No one really wants to do that. They want to say, oh, we got this. But anyway, I'm going to finish by saying, and then I'll go to you, Arif, and we'll shut it down. I think, Stu, it is in the delivery, because no one likes to say, I know, listen, I can be rough around the edges, but Ryan, when we're talking and we're all going to be on a call with the ICA, it's like, all right, if somebody has wronged you, yeah, bring it out. But the truth is, when it comes to being, the ultra professional, some of us know we don't have to. No one pays our bills. We'll act like we want. But then some people just don't want to listen when they think you might have a good idea, but when you come at us like that, Like, yeah, who do you think you are coming at us like that? So it's really the fine line. And Ryan, I know you're slick enough that we know we want to move things ahead in a positive direction, coming from good places. So I'm excited about all the things in the domain space, moving forward, especially the direction of the ICA. Nat, I'm all about, and I told him I'm at his disposal when it comes to things that he wants me to do like a soldier, and I got 2 table turners, and I'm not giving a fuck. Okay, so Arif, what do you want to say before we shut this down?
I have a million things, but you're just talking about like how with the DNX, whatever it is. But that's the whole thing, is that like you can't be successful in the industry without having some affiliation with GoDaddy. I mean, you can, but but that's the other thing too, right? Is that like there's so many ways to make money in this industry, but a lot of them lead back to GoDaddy, right? And sometimes you can't if DNX existed without the Afternic listings, but how much stuff would actually be there? So it's just like, again, I'm not saying anything wrong. Like I'll be the first to defend the staff at GoDaddy. I know I've talked to many of them, and they want the best for everybody. They want, it's like they're not evil people trying to get domainers and whatever it is. They're not, right? They truly want to make their product better. It's a big boat to steer. There's a lot of bugs in their platform, but they're not intentional, right? But at the same time, there is, because it's so big and it has its tentacles into so many different aspects of the industry, and in some ways, up to 50% and even more. I'm not going to say monopoly, but like, it's in that, we're getting in that territory, right? It's like, I'm just saying we should be asking more questions as an industry. I'm not accusing of anything. I don't even have the resources to judge some of the things I'm questioning. But again, the ICA is there. They're supposed to be, representing the industry. But like, I'm just like, what's been going on?
Well,
What
you could
questions
put, I
are
have difficult questions. Write them right here on X. Tag ICA and see how they respond. But it's not like I have to be there to ask the question. What are the most difficult questions? What are the things that you're and then if you really got some balls, then say, hey, listen, I'm going to end my membership if I can't get answers to these questions, and I'm going to tell other people not to join. Listen, they don't want that. They're going to think, hold on, why are you being so... But the point is, I think, yeah, have good questions. I love when people do it publicly, or, and then you think, well, that's not how you want to do it. You want to do it privately. All right, well, then don't get on somebody else who doesn't want to ask questions at all. Some people, I know what I like in another person, but then I don't get on somebody who's like, all right, you don't want to raise hell like me? Well, what's wrong with you? Well,
but the ICA should be public, at least within the people of the ICA, right? Like, I mean, we should be having Zooms a couple of times a year discussing what are the important things that we're doing, right? And that's what I think is
why
missing.
don't you just say online, especially if you're not getting any response privately? Why wouldn't you post on here, hey, how come we don't have more meetings, Camila and
Todd, I did do that at the meeting and a half ago.
Fuck,
And
that was a year and a half ago. Do it every week right here on X. You can still do it. Do it. Okay, Brad, what would you like to share, and then I'll shut it down. What's up, Brad?
Okay, thank you, Todd and Arif and Ryan and Sama and everyone on there. I wanted just to bring up a few things that I think were a part of this, but in expanding it another way. There's, in my perspective, there isn't really a whole lot of creativity in how the domain space and the domain industry is at this moment. Because if you look what's really going on, everybody is going after the same fish. That's the singleword.com is like the holy grail, or short something. Okay, but just think about that. Those names are already done. Most people own them already, so you can't get to the big fish. The way to expand, this is my own perspective, you have to educate the public and advertisers and entrepreneurs, because you could look how many great names are out there that are sitting there for 20 years. They're great names. No one's getting them because it's all the same thing. The domain industry has to expand its demographics on how you use domains besides just making money fast and then marketing your company. Okay, there's other arenas that we can explore. I'm in my own arena. I'm exploring how domain names can be used in a socially cultural way, having cultural capital that might expand the use of how people interact with the internet and getting online to be part of something bigger than just greed, money, and building my business. There's too That's too limiting, because what everyone is pushing is you have to have and all everyone you have to have a great single word name, and then if you don't have that, then you have to have luck, or like Arif, who's like a brilliant wordsmith, he knows how to do it. Not many people do. But so what the domain industry really comes down to for the successful domainers is marketing. That's what I want to say. We're talking about, it's the name, it's not the name, it's the marketing. So we have to grow and expand to be able to influence a demographic that's out there that doesn't have the money, that don't have the entrepreneurship, they don't have the next big business. But you notice some of the most successful names that come out from new industries, they're made up names. They're Google, Anthropic, and stuff like that, or whatever. And the name is like the holy grail, and it comes down to everyone is fishing for the same name, and so it comes down to marketing the name, and that's who the successful people are in this business. So, what are we going to do? How do we teach marketing? I think, Ryan, your idea is terrific, and I think that you're approaching that. Educating people how to sell domain names, or even how to buy them. But and I've seen it even on TV. A big company advertises their catchphrase, and their catchphrase is still available as a .com. Now, how is that? Where does that come from? I don't want to go on, but thank you,
Yeah, I
Todd, for letting me
think
come
people.
up.
The thing is for education, that what we really need, exactly that, the end user side of things. But the problem is that end users, when they're buying domain, it's usually they only consider educating themselves about domain names when it comes time for them starting their business, right? Most of these people that we really
I
want
don't
to
want to go
educate,
on. I said 90 minutes, and everybody wants to talk at the end. The first motherfucking hour, nobody does a thing, and then it's always the same each week. I'm gonna really start having a 90-minute, like, just stop. But the thing is, because I'd like to have these conversations, I like it too. I got a bunch of other stuff to do. But Ryan, or I'm saying Brad, you never go wrong by saying marketing is the key, because whether you have the best product, the best service, without marketing, nothing. When you can't make people aware of what you have. So, right, that's why we see, and we'll have a conversation next week about, people always, especially domainers, talk about that name that really boosted your marketing or saved you so much money in marketing. And they never want to address, because it hurts their bags, I guess they say, about all the companies that had that great name, but they didn't have the right marketing strategy or money, and it just faltered. It failed. Why? Because marketing is more important than the name. Okay, the name is hugely important, but still, marketing is more important than the name. The marketing surrounding the product or service. But they always want to act like, boy, that name really helped out. That name, is important, but just it's down the list. All right, thanks everybody for being here. We really appreciate it. We're going to be here next week. DNX. Hey, if you can't get enough of domain talking and stuff like that, well, join Ish's room on Saturday. There we really go crazy too. It's 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. And then we're going to start having some new stuff on Fridays too. But everybody, thanks for being here. Take care of yourself. Eat well. I don't know, exercise. Talk to you next time.
It's not starting this Friday, right? It's starting, you said, at the end of the month?